لحظة بلحظة، أخبار السياسة والسياسة، المال والأعمال، الثقافة والرياضة، الجزائر الدولية، نافذة مفتوحة على أخبار العالم.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, Algerians are celebrating today the second day of Eid al-Fitr with visits paid to families when officials as well as actors of civil society have organized visits to hospitals, including to injured Palestinian children. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, have agreed in a telephone conversation to continue their bilateral efforts until the occupied state of Palestine obtains the quality of full member within the United Nations. On the second day of Eid al-Fitr, the Israeli occupation warplanes intensify their aerial strikes on various parts of the Gaza Strip and the Nusayrat refugee camp in the central Gaza Strip, murdering 3 sons and 4 grandchildren of the head of the political bureau of the resistance movement Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh. This is Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Smani. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received a telephone call from his brother, the President of the Republic of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr. The two presidents exchanged greetings on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr, wishing the two brotherly peoples more progress and stability. Reviewing the situation in the Gaza Strip and analyzing the latest developments, the two presidents agreed during the communication to continue their bilateral efforts until the occupied state of Palestine obtains the quality of full member within the United Nations. The Turkish president thanked President Tebboune for his step, welcoming Algeria's constant positions and principles in favor of the Palestinian cause and the efforts made at Security Council level. Civil society actors have organized on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr several visits to hospitals, homes for the elderly, and villages for children in distress in order to share with these segments of the society the joy and happiness of Eid. Mohammed Khatul has the details.
Most of the civil society actors argued that their actions were motivated by the moral values of Algerians, known for the spirit of mutual aid and solidarity, particularly on such occasions. The tradition of exchanging cakes among neighbors and relatives perfectly reflects this ancestral culture, aiming to anchor the values of sharing and joy. Visiting hospitals and offering gifts and toys to the patients there, especially children, brings them joy, happiness, and a glimmer of hope that help them overcome their pain and suffering. The member of the National Council of the Association of Former Algerian Muslim Scouts, Munir Arbiya, considered that the Eid al-Fitr program was an extension of the solidarity projects of the month of Ramadan, like the Ramadan basket, the Eid basket, circumcision operations, Eid clothing for children, as well as for people staying in homes of the elderly and children in orphanages, which aim to spread joy. In this context, former Algerian Muslim Scouts organized visits to the University Hospital Center of Bni Masous, the orphanage of Draria, and the homes for the elderly in Sidi Musa and El Ibrahim, in addition to similar visits in several wilayas. In the same spirit, the Algerian Organization for the Environment and Citizenship has drawn up a special Eid al-Fitr program that includes visits to hospitals, homes for the elderly, and villages for children in distress, with the aim of spreading joy and sharing the happiness of the celebration in a family atmosphere. On this occasion, the president of the organization, Sofiane Affan, affirmed that the program covers various provinces or wilayas of the country, including Stif, Soukharas, Tlemcen, Oran, Bashar, Jilfa, Ain Difla, Borj Baji Mukhtar, Tindouf and Batna in order to strengthen the links of cohesion and solidarity between the different categories of the people, in particular patients, the elderly and the children in distress. Evoking the special place of orphans, the president of the Kafil Al Yatim Association, Ali Shawati, announced that this category had benefited during the month of Ramadan from special support, which was reinforced on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr by the distribution of 50,000 Eid outfits, in addition to the organization of circumcision operations and visits for the benefit of orphans during the days of Eid, in addition to the distribution of cakes and gifts. For his part, the president of the National Volunteer Association, Ahmed Malha, affirmed that voluntary actions now constituted a tradition consecrated by civil society during these occasions, but also a strong message of social support towards the categories deprived from family warmth.
Algerians are celebrating today the second day of Eid al-Fitr with visits paid to families and friends and cakes and gifts offered to the relatives and the needy. More on the festival in this report.
From dawn and at the first light of day, the faithful, foremost dressed in white, began to converge on mosques to perform the Eid prayer, imploring Allah's mercy in an atmosphere of serenity and tranquility after a month of fasting. On the occasion, the Imams urged in their sermons the faithful to show fraternity, solidarity and compassion on the blessed day, insisting on the importance of the precepts of Islam, which strengthen social cohesion. Once the prayer was over, the citizens presented their wishes to their families, loved ones and neighbors, thus enshrining the high values of this sacred day, synonymous of forgiveness, tolerance and strengthening of family ties. The celebration of the holiday is an opportunity for the associations to visit hospitals to bring joy to the sick, especially those whose families are far away, as well as to establishments for the elderly to share with them the joy of Eid. On this day of forgiveness, the cemeteries are always full and know an unusual crowd, given the large numbers of people who remember their late beloved ones in an atmosphere of meditation and piety. In addition, several sectors providing public services have taken measures to enable citizens to celebrate the Eid holiday in serenity and in the best possible conditions, ensuring public transport, post offices, shops, as well as the mobilization of different security forces. In this regard, the National Gendarmerie and the National Security have implemented measures during these 2 days of celebration to guarantee the fluidity of road traffic.
The Higher Youth Council has organized a ceremony in Algiers on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr to honor African and Palestinian students enrolled at Algerian universities and institutes under the theme Aid for Young People from the African Continent in Algeria, organized at the Palace of Culture Mufti Zakaria under the theme Together We Celebrate Eid in Our African Home. This ceremony aims to strengthen links between young people on the African continent by creating networking spaces that promote exchange, cooperation, and the empowerment of young Africans so that they can play their essential role in continental development by consolidating the concepts of sustainable development, world peace, economic integration, and cultural exchange. The Minister of National Solidarity, Kautar Krikou, has paid a visit to the Army's Mother and Child Hospital in Beni Messous here in Algiers in order to exchange greetings with the injured Palestinian children and their carers who are being cared for under the initiative of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. More with Mohammed Khatil.
Accompanied by the ambassador of the State of Palestine to Algiers, Faiz Abu Aita, and the Director General of the Army's Mother and Child Hospital, the minister visited the hospitalized Palestinian children and offered them gifts before visiting the Army's Medical and Social Benefit Center, where the children are staying with their families and whose state of health has improved. In a statement to the press, Mrs. Krikou expressed her delight at visiting this hospital, which has welcomed, on the instructions of the President of the Republic, our brothers injured and repatriated evacuated from Gaza following the barbaric aggression perpetrated by the Zionist occupation against the Palestinian people. For his part, the Palestinian ambassador thanked the Algerian authorities for all the human and material resources mobilized to ensure the best possible care for Palestinian children and those accompanying them, and praised the unconditional support of the Algerian government and people for the Palestinian people who are subjected to a barbaric aggression perpetrated by the forces of the Zionist occupier.
The Israeli occupation warplanes intensified since early dawn today their aerial strikes on different parts of the Gaza Strip in the Nusayrat refugee camp in the central Gaza Strip, causing several casualties and massive destruction to property. The occupation warboats bombed the homes of civilians in the Sheti refugee camp to the west of the Gaza Strip. The Israeli occupation also shelled a presidential or residential apartment and a school in the Nusayrat refugee camp, killing 5 people and causing injuries to several others. It also targeted 2 mosques during Eid al-Fitr's festival. The total number of civilians killed since the onset of the Israeli aggression on the 7th of October has risen to 33,545 as thousands remain missing under rubble. The Israeli army, currently committing a genocide in the Gaza Strip, has murdered 3 sons and 4 grandchildren of the head of the political bureau of the resistance movement Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh. In an air strike against the Sheti refugee camp in Gaza, the Palestinian resistance movement said in a statement that the assassination happened when the family had been visiting relatives on the first day of Eid al-Fitr. Now, the Palestinian Civil Defense has said that the Zionist entity has made the corpses of the martyrs disappear under Al-Shifa Hospital in the Gaza Strip, which has been subjected to a genocidal war for 6 months. Said Bougazi has more.
The Palestinian Civil Defense in the Gaza Strip stated that Zionist forces made corpses disappear under the rubble of Al-Shifa and the surrounding area, calling on international organizations to intervene to help it in its mission. The Civil Defense said earlier that its teams had recovered the bodies of 409 Palestinian martyrs since the withdrawal of the Zionist occupation forces from the Al-Shifa medical complex and its surroundings. A civil protection spokesman said on Tuesday that its teams had found several handcuffed bodies. Also on Tuesday, the Geneva-based Euro-Mediterranean Observatory for Human Rights said that its teams had documented cases of executions in Al-Shifa and that the occupying forces had tried to hide the evidence by burying the bodies under rubble. The Zionist occupation forces attacked Al-Shifa medical complex for the 2nd time on 18th March. The assault, which lasted 2 weeks, destroyed all the facilities and equipment of the largest hospital in the besieged Palestinian territory. The World Health Organization declared after the withdrawal of the Zionist troops that Al-Shifa will no longer function as a hospital after today.
The Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs Sergei Lavrov and the United Nations coordinator for the Middle East peace process Tor Westland have called for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, where the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the occupied Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, has declared that the European Union has an obligation to suspend its agreements with the Zionist entity. Now, Russia has called on Iran and Israel to exercise restraint amid spiraling tensions in the Middle East. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said there had been no request for Russia to mediate between Israel and Iran, though Peskov said that the Israeli strikes on the Iranian consulate in Damascus was a violation of all the principles of international law. Iran has vowed revenge for the April 1st airstrike on its embassy compound in Damascus, which killed a top Iranian general and 6 other Iranian military officers, further escalating tensions in the region, which is already marred by the Gaza war. This is Radio Algeria International. Stay tuned